The sky above Coruscant is on fire. Hundreds of separatist warships tear through the upper atmosphere, their turbolaser batteries painting the clouds in streaks of crimson and green. Republic Venator-class Star Destroyers answer in kind, trading broadsides that shake the orbital platforms to their foundations. Vulture droids swarm in great spiraling clouds, and through the chaos, a single pair of Jedi starfighters slices forward like the tip of a spear. Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi. General Grievous has seized Chancellor Palpatine from the Senate District and dragged him aboard his flagship, the Invisible Hand. The two Jedi fight through a wall of droid fighters, dock inside the cruiser's hangar, and carve their way to the observation spire where Count Dooku waits. The Sith apprentice duels both Jedi, incapacitates Obi-Wan, and faces Anakin alone. Anakin overpowers him, severing both hands at the wrist, and stands above the kneeling Count with crossed blades at his throat. Palpatine's voice slithers through the chamber. Kill him now. And Anakin does. It is a moment that should haunt him, a prisoner of war, unarmed and defeated, executed on the word of a politician. But the Chancellor frames it as justice, as strength, as the kind of decision action the Jedi Order would never sanction. As their transport descends through the burning sky, Anakin doesn't yet understand what just happened. He doesn't realize the man sitting next to him orchestrated the entire battle. The kidnapping, the rescue, the execution. All of it designed to pull Anakin one step closer to the dark side. But that understanding is coming. And when it arrives, Anakin Skywalker will make a choice no one, not the Jedi, not the Sith, not the galaxy itself, saw coming. Days pass. The war grinds on, but Coruscant breathes easier. Palpatine moves through the Senate with the comfortable authority of a man who has survived yet another crisis, his approval soaring. The Senate grants him still more emergency powers. Few question it anymore. The Republic has been at war for 3 years, and exhaustion has replaced scrutiny. For Anakin, the days are anything but calm. Padmé is pregnant. The nightmares have started. Visions of her death, vivid and suffocating, identical in texture to the dreams that preceded his mother's murder on Tatooine. He failed to save Shmi. The thought of failing Padmé consumes him, and Palpatine knows. The Chancellor has spent years cultivating Anakin. Small gestures of warmth when the Jedi Council offered coldness. Praise when the Masters offered only caution. Every kindness was an investment. Every conversation moved Anakin a fraction of a degree closer to this moment. They sit in the Chancellor's private box at the galaxy's opera house, and Palpatine tells a story. The tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. A Sith Lord so powerful, he could manipulate the midichlorians to create life, and cheat death itself. The hook is set with surgical precision. Palpatine knows exactly what Anakin needs to hear. Later, in his office, the mask comes off entirely. The Chancellor's voice drops to something low and deliberate. The warmth drains from his expression, replaced by something older and far more dangerous. He speaks plainly. He is a Sith Lord. He has been one all along, and he alone possesses the knowledge to save Padmé from the death Anakin has foreseen. In the films, this moment fractures Anakin. He is horrified, yes, but also desperate. He reports the revelation to Mace Windu, but hesitates. He sits alone in the Jedi Temple, torn between duty and love, and ultimately chooses the Sith. But not here. Not in this timeline. Enjoying our alternative Star Wars universe? Consider liking and hitting the hype button to show us your support. Don't forget to subscribe for more mind-bending tales from the Star Wars universe. Something is different this time. Not in the Force, but in Anakin himself. When Palpatine speaks those words, "I am a Sith Lord," the first thing Anakin feels is not temptation, it is betrayal. Deep, personal, and absolute. He thinks about the Clone Wars. 3 years of carnage. Friends lost. Planets burned. His own Padawan, Ahsoka Tano, dragged before a military tribunal on false charges and driven from the Order. All while this man pulled the strings. The Battle of Christophsis, the Siege of Mandalore. All of it engineered. Palpatine orchestrated both sides of the war. Every clone trooper who died, every Jedi who fell, their blood runs back to this office. and Anakin carried out his orders. Faithfully, gratefully. The rage that rises in him is not the hot, impulsive anger Palpatine has spent years cultivating. It is cold. It is clarity. For perhaps the first time in his life, Anakin Skywalker sees the full architecture of his own manipulation, and he understands exactly what he needs to do. He doesn't ignite his lightsaber. He doesn't run to the Jedi Council. Instead, he does something far more dangerous. He keeps his composure. He nods. He lets Palpatine believe the performance is working. And quietly, beneath his glove, he activates a small holo recorder, standard Jedi intelligence equipment carried since the early campaigns of the Clone Wars. Palpatine, intoxicated by the moment he has waited over a decade to engineer, does not notice. Anakin captures every word. Anakin leaves the Chancellor's office with the weight of a galaxy pressing against his chest. In canon, he goes to Mace Windu. The Jedi Master assembles a strike team and they march to the Chancellor's office for a private arrest. No witnesses, no Senate oversight. And that is exactly how Palpatine wanted it. A closed-door confrontation he could spin as a Jedi coup. Anakin sees this trap clearly now. After 3 years of war, the Jedi Order's reputation is fractured. Senators whisper about overreach. If the Jedi accuse the Chancellor in private, it will look like exactly what Palpatine will claim. A power grab by an unelected religious order. So, Anakin makes a different choice. He contacts Padmé Amidala first. She has always been the political mind he is not. She in turn reaches Bail Organa of Alderaan. Together, the three of them invoke an emergency Senate session, callable by any sitting senator with the co-signature of a second and the endorsement of a military officer of flag rank. Anakin qualifies on the third count. He is a Jedi General of the Grand Army of the Republic. Within the hour, the call goes out across Coruscant. Senators are summoned from residences, offices, and embassy chambers. No agenda is published. No briefing is circulated. The session is classified under wartime security protocols. No one knows what is coming. The Grand Convocation Chamber fills slowly. Over 1,000 repulsor pods hover in their docking cradles, each carrying senators, aides, and translators from across the galaxy. There's tension in the air. Rumors swirl. Some senators believe the emergency involves a separatist breakthrough. Others suspect a ceasefire announcement. Then, Anakin Skywalker steps to the central podium. Obi-Wan Kenobi stands behind him, not as a speaker, but as a shield. Anakin told his former master everything before the session began. Obi-Wan's presence is deliberate. If the Senate sees Anakin's most trusted Jedi ally standing beside him, it reinforces that this is not one rogue knight acting alone. Anakin does not stand as a Jedi general. He does not stand as a warrior. He stands as a witness. And when he speaks, his voice carries the weight of a man who has seen the face of the enemy and discovered it was his friend. He tells them everything. Palpatine's confession, the Sith identity, the implication that the Chancellor engineered the conflict from both sides, that the Separatist movement was never a true rebellion, but a puppet theater designed to consolidate power in the office of the Supreme Chancellor. Then, he plays the recording. Palpatine's voice fills the chamber, unmistakable and unhurried. The Senate hears the words directly from the man they elected. There is no Jedi filter, no second-hand report, no room for the accusation to be dismissed as hearsay. The reaction is seismic. Loyalists from the core world shout that the recording is fabricated. Jedi propaganda designed to undermine lawful authority. Mas Amedda, Palpatine's long-serving vice chair, immediately demands the session be suspended pending authentication. But others sit in absolute silence. Bail Organa, Mon Mothma, senators who have watched the Republic's institutions erode for years and always suspected something darker was at work. The chamber fractures. Repulsor pods drift toward the center as senators jockey for the speaking platform. For the first time, the Republic is forced to confront the possibility that its leader is a Sith Lord. Palpatine arrives. He enters the chamber not in haste, but with the measured confidence of a man who has controlled this room for over a decade. His expression is calm, almost disappointed, as if a favored student has made a regrettable error in judgment. He does not deny the recording outright. Instead, he reframes it. He speaks of the Jedi's long history of political interference. He asks a devastating question. Who is truly threatening democracy? A chancellor who has served faithfully through the worst war in galactic history, or an unaccountable order of warrior monks who answer to no electorate? It is masterful. Even now, even exposed, Palpatine's gift for manipulation is extraordinary. But then, the doors open. Mace Windu enters the chamber. Behind him walk Kit Fisto, Saesee Tiin, and Aegon Kolar, their robes heavy and their expressions grim. Yoda is not among them. He is still on Kashyyyk with the Wookiees, but the message is unmistakable. They do not come as assassins. They come as officers of the Republic, and they come in full public view. Mace Windu addresses the Senate directly. He confirms that the Jedi Council has independently corroborated Anakin's account and provides supplementary intelligence, intercepted communications between Palpatine and Separatist leaders, and a formal Jedi assessment that the Force signature surrounding the Chancellor is consistent with Sith mastery. The chamber goes deathly quiet. Palpatine's expression changes. The mask, the patient grandfatherly politician the galaxy has known for 13 years, dissolves. What replaces it is something ancient and terrible. A crimson lightsaber ignites in the Supreme Chancellor's hand. The sound reverberates through the Grand Convocation Chamber like a thunderclap, and for a single frozen instant, 1,000 senators stare at the impossible. Their elected leader, bathed in red light, the weapon of a Sith Lord humming at his fist. Then, the panic begins. Senator guards draw their blasters and immediately realize they are catastrophically outmatched. Palpatine moves with a speed that defies his age, a blur of dark robes and scarlet energy, and he strikes at Mace Windu first. The duel that erupts is unlike anything in the canon timeline. In the films, this confrontation happens behind closed doors. 4 Jedi enter the Chancellor's office, and Palpatine cuts down 3 of them in seconds. The Jedi came to arrest, not to fight, and they were unprepared for the ferocity of a Sith Lord unleashed. Here, there is no such disadvantage. The Jedi arrived expecting combat. They are spread in a defensive formation. When Palpatine lunges, Windu meets him blade to blade while Fisto flanks wide and Tiin anchors the rear. The fighting is savage. Palpatine's Juyo blade work is devastating. Fast, unpredictable, laced with dark side augmentation that turns every strike into a concussive event. He kills Aegon Kolar with the force push that drives the Zabrak into a stone column hard enough to crack it. Saesee Tiin falls minutes later, caught by a burst of Sith lightning while defending a cluster of fleeing senators. But the cost is real. Each kill cost Palpatine time and positioning. Kit Fisto, the Nautolan master whose skill with the blade is rivaled by few in the Order, fights with the desperate precision of a man who knows the stakes. A vicious exchange drives Palpatine back, but the Sith Lord catches Fisto with a surge of force lightning that sends the Nautolan crashing into a repulsor pod, badly wounded. Fisto survives, but his part in this fight is over. Windu presses forward alone with Vapad, the fighting style that channels an opponent's darkness back against them. The entire galaxy is watching. HoloNet feeds broadcast from the chamber's embedded security systems. Across 1,000 worlds, beings see the Chancellor of the Republic wielding a Sith weapon against Jedi Knights. There is no spinning this. No propaganda can undo what billions of eyes have just witnessed. Palpatine knows it too. Wounded, his facade destroyed, he triggers the one contingency he hoped to deploy under very different circumstances. He transmits a single coded phrase through the Republic's own military infrastructure. Order 66. Execute all Jedi. Across the galaxy, the command reaches clone commanders on dozens of battlefronts. On Felucia, Commander Bly's targeting computers register Aayla Secura as hostile. On Maigito, Ki-Adi-Mundi's own troops turn their rifles toward him mid-assault. On Cato Neimoidia, Plo Koon's wingmen lock onto a starfighter without warning. But the execution is uneven. The inhibitor chips are biological, hardwired into clone neurology from birth. When the Order fires, it overrides free will entirely. But Order 66 was designed to be issued from a position of unchallenged authority, transmitted cleanly through a unified command structure. That is not what happens here. The Senate broadcast has ruptured the Republic's chain of command. Non-clone military officers, naval captains, base commanders, intelligence staff who saw the footage refused to support the purge. On some fronts, Communication relays are jammed in the chaos, and clone units never receive the order at all. On others, Republic personnel physically intervene, locking down barracks before the clones can mobilize. The result is not a clean purge, it is a fractured, bloody mess, devastating in places, blunted in others. On Kashyyyk, Commander Gree turns his weapon towards Yoda. The ancient Jedi Master senses the betrayal an instant before it comes, decapitates Gree with a single stroke, and disappears into the Rorschach forest with the aid of Tarful and Chewbacca. Yoda reaches a long-range transmitter. Palpatine has been exposed. The galaxy knows. He commandeers a transport and sets course for the capital. Palpatine escapes the Senate chambers and the chaos, vanishing into the labyrinthine underworld of Coruscant. Thousands of levels deep, the city planet becomes something older and stranger. Ancient infrastructure, forgotten civilizations, and darkness so deep, the Force itself thickens. But Palpatine is not fleeing blindly. Buried beneath the Jedi Temple itself lies an ancient Sith shrine. It predates the Republic. Palpatine has drawn upon its power for years, using its dark side resonance to cloud Jedi perception and mask his presence. Now, cornered and exposed, he descends to make his final stand. Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Mace Windu follow. They are joined hours later by Yoda, fresh from Kashyyyk, carrying the weight of centuries and the clarity of a master who finally understands the full scope of the Jedi Order's failure. The four of them descend together. The shrine is a cathedral of shadow. Stone walls carved with Sith glyphs pulse with a faint, sickly luminescence. The air is heavy, saturated with dark side energy so dense it presses against the lungs. This is the wellspring Palpatine has fed them for decades, and now it amplifies him. He waits for them at the center, his lightsaber drawn, his face twisted into something barely human. What remains is Darth Sidious, the last of the Sith, the architect of a war that consumed the galaxy. The duel is the most significant in 1,000 years. Yoda engages first, his diminutive form a whirlwind of green energy, matching Sidious blow for blow. Windu flanks, his vapid blade a conduit that turns Sidious's own hatred into a weapon against him. Obi-Wan holds the perimeter, his Soresu defense an impenetrable wall that denies the Sith Lord any escape route. And Anakin Skywalker, the boy from Tatooine, the slave who was told he would bring balance to the Force, fights not with rage, but with something Palpatine never accounted for: clarity. He has seen the full truth. He knows what Palpatine took from him: his childhood, his Padawan, his peace, nearly his soul. And he fights not to destroy, but to end it, to close a wound that has been bleeding across the galaxy for 3 years. Sidious unleashes a torrent of Force lightning, not at one Jedi, but at all 4, a storm of energy that cracks the ancient stonework. Yoda absorbs the worst of it, his hands raised, the energy dispersing around him in a sphere of radiant light. Windu pushes through from the flank, and Anakin, in a moment that will be studied by Jedi scholars for generations, channels the Force in a way that no one expected. He doesn't overpower Sidious. He reaches through the Force and severs the Sith Lord's connection to the shrine itself. The dark side energy recoils. The shrine goes dark, and in that instant of vulnerability, 4 lightsabers converge. Darth Sidious falls. The last Sith Lord in a lineage stretching back 1,000 years collapses on the stones of his own sanctuary. The rule of 2, the grand plan, the slow corruption of the galaxy's greatest democracy, all of it ends in a forgotten chamber beneath the streets of Coruscant. The aftermath reshapes the galaxy. With Palpatine's full network of manipulation exposed, the Separatist leadership crumbles. The corporate titans who funded the Confederacy, the Trade Federation, the Banking Clan, the Techno Union, scramble to negotiate surrenders. General Grievous, deprived of Sith support, is hunted down by Obi-Wan Kenobi on Utapau within the week. The Clone Wars end. Not with the triumphant declaration of a new empire, but with the quiet, exhausted relief of a republic that nearly destroyed itself. Bail Organa and Padmé Amidala lead a Senate commission to dismantle the emergency powers Palpatine had accumulated. It is slow, contentious, deeply political work. The kind of unglamorous governance that doesn't make for good holodramas, but keeps civilizations alive. The Jedi Order faces a reckoning of its own. Yoda acknowledges before the full council that the Order failed. They became generals when they should have remained guardians. They lost Ahsoka Tano because they prioritized institutional reputation over justice. Reforms begin. The Jedi step back from military command and return to their roots as mediators, scholars, and protectors. And Anakin? Anakin Skywalker stands at the center of it all. And for once, he does not stand alone. Padmé is beside him. Obi-Wan is beside him. The nightmares of her death, visions fed by Palpatine's manipulation of the Force through the Sith Shrine, have stopped. He never becomes Darth Vader. He never seals himself inside a black mask. He never watches his children taken from him, split across the galaxy, hidden from a father who burned alive on the banks of a river of lava. Instead, he becomes something the galaxy has not seen in a millennium, a Jedi who fulfilled the prophecy, not through conquest or destruction, but through the simple, radical act of telling the truth when silence would have been easier. Luke and Leia are born into a republic, flawed, scarred, still healing, but free. The Chosen One did not bring balance through fire. He brought it through light. If you enjoy this journey into an alternative Star Wars universe where destiny takes unexpected turns and balance means something entirely different, make sure to subscribe to our channel. We explore the infinite possibilities hidden within the galaxy far, far away, asking the questions that reshape everything you thought you knew. The Force has many paths. Come discover them with us.